So first point is obedience of Boyle's law, Charles' law, and laws of pressure, that is Dalton's law and Amagat's law also it may be, you may write. Then ideal gas obeys under all the laws under all conditions. So this is an important point, that under all conditions they obey all these laws, while real gases do not obey these laws. Although under very low pressure and high temperature, we can say that they are obeying these laws, because in that condition real gases can be assumed to be behaving like an ideal gas. Okay, this I have told you previously. Now the second point is volume and pressure coefficient, that is whether the volume is equal to the at compressed state or not. Then for ideal gases exactly equal to each other for all the gases. That means since they are following these laws, that is the Boyle's law, Charles law, sorry for that. So therefore their volumes are exactly equal, while the real gases, the, that cannot be so, that volume and pressure coefficient are equal. The next is size of the molecule. So in ideal gases we are assuming that they are of infinitely small, so that the volume of the considered gases is very large as compared to the molecule, whereas in real gases they are of assumed to be of finite size. That is why if you remember the equation PV is equal to MRT, then you may also remember the van der Waals equations, that is the correction of in pressure and the volume coefficient by introducing the coefficients A and B. This you must have taught in your intermediate level physics and chemistry. The next point is force of attraction between molecules, that is whether the molecule attract each other or not. Then in ideal gas it is absent, and in real gases it is present. This you must be knowing, that in ideal gases force of attraction is absent, and real gases they are present, but in real gases can be assumed to be ideal gases under very low pressure and high temperature. Why? Because under very low pressure the molecules are very far apart from each other, therefore intermolecular force of attraction is can be assumed to be negligible. And at the same time, if the temperature is also high, then you know that as the temperature is high, then they gain the kinetic energy and move randomly far from each other. So therefore the concept of low pressure and high temperature gives us the gives real gases can be assumed to be ideal gases. Next point is possibility of conversion into liquid or solid state. This is an important point. And what does this it mean? It means that can an ideal gas be converted into liquid or solid state? Then this is an important aspect, that an ideal gas can never be converted to liquid or solid gas. Why? Because force of attraction is absent. So what does it mean that force of attraction is absent? This means that if you want to convert ideal gas into a liquid or a gas, then you must bring the molecules closer to each other, and the force of attraction should be there so that molecules can bind, and if they bind each other, then only a liquid or solid state can be generated. But since in ideal gases force of attraction is not present, therefore ideal gases cannot be converted into liquid or solid state. Whereas in real gases, since force of attraction is present, therefore they can be converted into liquid state as well as the solid state. Next is the mean free path between the molecules. So this is in data. This is of the order of 10 to the power minus 5 millimeter, and this is the order of 10 to the power minus 6 millimeter. So these are the some differences between an ideal gas and a real gas and a real gas. Now moving towards the next point, that is a similarity between heat and work. uh, just these are the easy points. You must just will grasp these points so quickly. Let's look have a look over these points. Both heat and work exist in transit, and they are never processed or contained in a system. What does it mean? That they can only be felt if they cross the boundary of the system. Okay, this I have told you by an example, that by assuming that baking a hot baked potato, if you can't if the heat does not crosses the boundary of that potato, then you can never feel that it is a hot potato. So to analyze to analyze or to assume that heat and work is there, then it should be cross the boundary of the system. The next point is the same. Both heat and work refer to boundary phenomena. Okay, I explained you just now. Both are the both are path functions and do not represent the property of the system. So heat and work are not the property of the system. Since they are not property of the system, hence they are the path function. This I have told you previously also, and both are in exact differentials. So what does it mean? It means that we have to identify the path, the initial state, the final state, and the process to integrate it, or to know the value of the work done or the heat transfer. Now, few differences between heat and work. First and the foremost is heat can only transfer when there is a difference of temperature between the system and surrounding, whereas work can be transferred even without change in temperature between the system and surrounding. For example, pushing of piston upward or downward. This is a good example. Is supposingly the piston contains a fluid whose temperature is equal to the outside temperature, and still if you the piston can be compressed if you supply work. So it is a form of work, not heat. Second, in a constant volume process, the work is zero, but heat can be transferred. Why? Because you know that W is equal to W is equal to integral of PdV, and since it is a constant volume process, that is dV is zero. Therefore, work transfer is zero, but heat transfer in that case is never zero. Next point, that next point is, in case of work transfer, its sole effect would be raising or lowering of weight in the surrounding, but in case of heat transfer, other effects are also observed. What does it means? It means that if work is transferred, then it is a conventional method to represent the work transfer in terms of moving shaft. So here it is written that in case of work transfer, its sole effect is raising or lowering of weight. Now, how a weight is raised or lowered? By winding up a string or by unwinding the string. So therefore, again, a shaft work. So a proper statement can also be, in case of work transfer, its sole effect could be moving the shaft, but in case of heat transfer, other effects are also observed. Okay, now moving to the next point, temperature. Now, what is a temperature? uh, it's a long time our ancestors have tried to define what a temperature is. So with their efforts, found true and for concrete definition of temperature is now uh, there. So what is the temperature? It is a thermodynamic property of a matter, substance, or a systems. So an important point that temperature is a thermodynamic property. So what does a property mean? A property, a property means that is independent of path. This you must be knowing. Till now we have studied these things, that property is an independent of path. And which type of property is it? Is an intensive property. Intensive property means independent of mass. So therefore temperature is an property. And which type of property? An intensive property, because it is independent of mass. So there it is also written, it is an intensive property. So because whether you heat 1 kilogram of water or 1000 kilogram of water, the temperature of water will boil at 100 degrees centigrade only. It doesn't matter the whether you take 1000 kilogram of mass or 100 kilogram of mass. Next point and the last is, it determines the level of heat intensity of the body. What does it mean? It means the higher the temperature, the higher the heat transfer will be. So it determines. Now we have covered all these points. Now I think you must be aware what the temperature, what is the concept of temperature. All the points are very important. So whether a thermodynamic property or an intensive property or the level of heat intensity. The last one is a somewhat a complicated one. Uh, Determine the heat intensity, that is how much intense the heat is. Now the characteristics of temperature. Every property has some characteristics. So likewise temperature is also having characteristics. The first one is, in thermodynamic processes it depends on the state of the system. As said earlier, it is independent of the path followed and only depends on the state, since it is a property. So state of the system means if a system is taken to a particular point, then it will have that particular temperature. A little bit confused, just take it an example. The example is a very simple: ice and water, and I take the only these two. Now you can, you bring ice through any path, but it will formed only at 0 degree centigrade. That is, ice can only be formed at 0 degree centigrade, and water can only be boiled at 100 degree centigrade at an atmospheric pressure of 1.01325 bar. So this is an independent of path. That is why it is written as, it depends on the state of the system. Second point, it is not a path function. As I have told you earlier, that temperature is not a path function. That is, it doesn't matter if you bring ice from any process. That is, if ice is converted from, sorry, if water is converted into ice by any process, then its temperature will be 0 degree centigrade. Ice will be formed at 0 degree centigrade only. Same is the case with the boiling of water at atmospheric pressure of 1.01325 bar. Why I am again and again saying the atmospheric pressure of 1.01325 bar? The reason behind that, you must be knowing that water boils at 100 degree centigrade at this bar, 1 atmospheric pressure, 1.01 atmospheric pressure. This you must be knowing. Now the next point is, difference in temperature of two bodies responsible for energy transfer or heat transfer between them in the form of heat. This you must be knowing, that if there is temperature difference, then only heat can be transfer. If no temperature difference, then heat can never be transferred, but still if energy transfer of energy is taking place, then it must be work. Coming to the important point, definition, zeroth law of thermodynamics. This definition you must have studied in your intermediate level physics. Here I am again rebrushing it. What it states that when a body is in thermal equilibrium with a body B and also separately with a body C, then B and C will be in thermal equilibrium with each other. This is known as zeroth law of thermodynamics. So what does this mean? That it means a very simple statement that if a body A is in thermal equilibrium with body B and body C, then it implies that body B and body C are also in thermal equilibrium with each other. Okay, students. Now, a word has occurred here, thermal equilibrium. So, I think you must be knowing that what a thermal equilibrium means. Thermal equilibrium means temperature is uniform. Okay, that means temperature potential is not present. So now you must be now aware of these terms. Coming to the next point, as zeroth law of thermodynamics was easy, you have read it previously also. Now the next point is principle of thermometry. So thermometry, a new topic. What is thermometry? Thermometry means the science of measuring the temperature. So now you may ask, sir, what is a science in it? We can measure. So my dear friends, it is a very tough science because as the saying is, if you can measure it, then only you can improve it. If a doctor cannot measure your temperature, then how can he cure you? Similarly, if we don't know the temperature of any object, then how can we uh, tell what material should be used so that it can sustain that temperature? We how we have measured the temperature of the sun, because as it is saying that you cannot reach the sun, still we have measured that it should be itna 1000 6000 Kelvin. How we have measured it? So it's all the science of measurement of temperature. So what does it means? What is it saying? Principle of it is known as thermometry. The science of measuring of temperature is known as thermometry. What is it saying? So for the analysis of various thermodynamic operations. What does thermodynamic operations means? Like boiler operates at a very high temperature and pressure. So we want to know what material should be there. What is the temperature? If we don't have the measuring devices to measure the temperature of that boiler, then how can we come to know what material shall be using? So measuring the temperature is very important. And thermodynamic operations means the complete cycle, like a power cycle. This you must might be this you are will be taught in the next third module, that is the power cycles and all other things. So for analysis of various thermodynamic operations, temperature measurement of system and their states is essentially required. Why? Because if we don't know, as I said earlier, if we don't know the temperature, then other process can be hampered. This you will be come to know if you know some processes like Rankine cycle. For example, a very good example is refrigerator. If there is if you don't know that okay, this is -5 degree centigrade, this is -10 degree centigrade, then how can you freeze the water into ice? So temperature is knowing the temperature value of temperature is very essential. So it is written, for that use is made of an instrument called thermometer. So that is a thermometer. The technique of measuring temperature from these instruments is called thermometry. So how we measure these temperature from the instrument is called thermometry. Thermometers are various type. You have just only seen only a normal glass bulb thermometer, but there are of various type. So depending upon the use, they can be two or three types. Now thermometry is based on the following principles. First is use of thermometric substance, that is, the thermometer should contain a thermometric substance for heat transfer from the body system whose temperature is to be measured. This substance may be solid, liquid, or gas. So what does it mean? It means that a thermometer should contain a, first, the basic requirement of thermometer is to contain a fluid, so that the heat transfer can take place from where, from the body or system whose temperature is to be measured, and the subsequent changes can occur in that fluid, or the in that fluid, so that the temperature can be measured. So the well known example is mercury. Another example is alcohol is very sensitive to temperature. Hydrogen and platinum are also used for very sensitive cases. Alcohol thermometer you might have seen in uses, but these are of for technical use. So first one is use of thermometric substance. So second is type of thermometric property used. So what should be the type? The substance should respond against change in temperature by expanding or contracting, increasing or decreasing the resistance, allowing the flow of electric circuit. So the how you are going to measure the temperature, by which property you will measure the, by which property of the fluid you are going to measure the temperature, that property should be used. For example, expanding or contracting. A well-known example is mercury. You see that as the patient is whose temperature is to be measured is then mercury will expand into the desired length of column. So this is the property which we have used in thermometer. Now in the same way there are resistance based thermometer whose resistance changes, and depending on that the current flows. So the third one is allow the flow of electric current. Now coming to the next, sensing the thermal radiation. So just now I have told you that we have measured the temperature of the sun, and we also measure the temperature of boilers and turbines. Then how it is possible? It is not possible by directly putting a thermometer there. Why? Because generally boilers operate at a very high temperature, 400 degrees centigrade, 500 degrees centigrade. And if I talk about turbines, then turbines operate at a much higher temperature than boilers. The gas turbines operate at a temperature of around 1200 Kelvin, 1300 Kelvin, this order of gas turbines. So it is not possible to measure the temperature of these scientific objects. So by sensing the thermal radiation, we can come to know that what is the expected temperature, what which they are under which they are operating. Next is a selection of appropriate temperature scale. So what does it mean? It means for fixing of lower point and the higher point, and dividing those points in a suitable range, in a suitable scale. So it is written there, the choice of fixed points, that is lower and upper measurable temperature, depends upon the range of temperature to be measured and accuracy desired. That is, we have to freeze the lower point and the upper point. For example, if we want to freeze the point in a thermometer, for example we want to measure the temperature of water, then how you are going to do it? By freezing the, marking the 0 point, that is 0 degree centigrade, and the 100 degree centigrade, and dividing it into equal parts. Now the division depends upon how much accuracy you want to get. Next is calibration. So what does calibration means? Temperature scale should be calibrated between the upper, lower and the upper fixed points. And the last point is sensitiveness. A thermometer should be sensitive enough to respond quickly and minutely to body temperature. So what does the sensitiveness means? That means it should respond quickly. It should not take the time. For example, take an example of measuring the human body temperature. If it does not respond as per the time required, then what is its use? So that term is known as sensitiveness. So hopefully you have understood what I want to say. Coming to the next point, hopefully you have understood these points. These definitions are important from examination point of view also, and for future prospects also, whenever if you want to go high studies in thermal engineering, that too in measuring of temperature devices or thermometry. So a few numericals for practice based on these concepts and or on thermometry. So moving towards the first numerical, this is a second, just go to the numerical. A temperature scale is being developed using the following relation. The relation is this: temperature is equal to A into ln P plus B by 2, where P is a thermometric property and A and B are constant. Determine the Celsius temperature corresponding to thermometric property of 6.5 if ice point and steam point give thermometric value property of 3 and 8. So students, there are two unknowns here. Just look at the numerical. This is the equation, and they have given that ice point and the steam point thermometric value of 3 and 8. So we will get the constants from these two values. Let's see how. For ice point, that is at T is equal to 0 degree centigrade, P is 3, it is given that, and for steam P is 8. So using thermometric relations, that is substituting this value in the above equation, we will get these two equations, and if we solve, then the value of constants A and B are determined. Now as the constants A and B are determined, we can form the equation, that is the temperature is a function of this thing. Now what they have said: determine Celsius temperature corresponding to a thermometric property of 6.5. That is, if the value of P is 6.5, then what will be the value of T? So by putting 6.5 in this equation, we get the value of T as 302.83 degrees centigrade. So easy question, and I think you must have got this one, that now you will get these type of questions only. They are not very typical. Now anyway, moving towards the next numerical, again the same type. It is written in a thermometric thermometer 40 degree centigrade temperature, the EMF is given as this much. Now it is written then thermometer is having reference junction at ice point and is calibrated at ice point and steam points, that is at 0 degree centigrade and 100 degree centigrade. What temperature shall be shown by thermometer for a substance at 30 degree centigrade? So what does it mean? They have given the value of at 0 degree centigrade and 100 degree centigrade, and we have to determine the value at 30 degree centigrade. So how we are going to do this? Again, just by putting the values, that is put T is equal to 0 degree centigrade in this equation, then we will get the value at 0 degree centigrade, and similarly at 100 degree centigrade we will get the value of E at 100 degree centigrade. Then we have to what will be the temperature at this? So it is given, we will determine the voltage or the value of E at 30 degree 30. So we get this value. Now the temperature of this thermometer is given by, this is a standard equation. After substituting all these values we will get the answer. So the answer is in this case 32.3223 degree centigrade. Okay students, now